Hey guys, picked up a new pistol the other day. I traded in my Kel-Tec PF9. The Kel-Tec was a good pistol, but I could only get 2 fingers on it, so it'd flip around in my hand quite a bit when I was shooting it. And I wanted something with a little bit bigger grip on it. And what I got was a Kahr CW9. They give you a pretty nice case with it. The CW9 is sort of entry-level pistol for Kahr. It's one of the most inexpensive pistols they make. So the Kahr CW9 is all stainless steel and polymer lower. It has double action trigger. And the magazine's empty. The magazines are 7 rounds. And they're stainless steel. It's a high quality magazine. What I like, it has a little metal insert here that pushes up on the slide lock. On the Kel-Tec I had some trouble with the magazine follower right here. It's all plastic and that was getting worn off. In just the 6 months I had it, I had to replace both of my followers. So Kahr's a little better built that way. It has sort of like the Heine 8 sights, sort of a bar and a dot that you line up, which I'm not a big fan of. I kind of like the 3-dot sights, but there's a dovetail in the back, so you can change that back sight. And the front sight is fixed. So yesterday I ran about 150 rounds through the gun, and Kahr says to shoot about 200 rounds and then consider it broken in. Well, I ran 150 and I had no problems whatsoever. I ran some Blazer brass, some Winchester white box, full metal jacket, and 2 magazines of Spear Gold dot. Not one problem. One thing with comparing this to the PF9, the recoil on this gun is really similar to a full-sized gun. It has very little recoil compared to PF9. The PF9 has a little slimmer grip on it, and because I could only get 2 fingers on it, it would move around in my hand a lot when I was firing it. If I had to really concentrate and hold the grip of the gun really tight, otherwise I would get failures to feed. With this pistol, I don't need to grip it quite so tightly, and I had absolutely no failures to feed, no failures of any kind. So far I'm really happy with it. So I'll go over some of the dimensions real quick. The length is right about 6 inches. The height is about 4 3/4. Okay, here is the Kahr CW9. It weighs just about 19 ounces. It's 1 pound, 2 5/8 ounces. And how that compares to the Kel-Tec PF9. When I weighed the Kel-Tec, it was 16 ounces with an empty magazine. And this is also with an empty magazine. It's at 19 ounces. Okay, I'll do a real quick breakdown. And I'll drop the magazine. And you want to pull a slide back. There's a couple lines on the side here. You want to line those up. And you push on your takedown pin from the other side. It'll pop out and you can pull that right out. You want to make sure your gun is unloaded. Nothing in the chamber, because you have to pull the trigger to get the slide off. And then it just assembles like just about every other locked breech pistol. One thing unique about the Kahr, it has a 3.5-inch barrel. most pistols of this size have a 3-inch barrel in them. So they claim you'll get a little better velocity. I think the machine work on the Kahr is top notch. It's a striker fired pistol. So here's your striker. It has a drop safety firing pin block. Barrel's also all stainless. See, I've been shooting it. It's a little dirty. They polished the feed ramp up nicely. And it has a solid metal guide rod. That's pretty hefty. One thing, how they make these pistols a little more economical than the rest of the Kahrs. All the Kahrs, the more expensive ones, have a polygonal rifled barrel, where this just has a traditional rifling in it. And they use 1 MIM part. This is a MIM part, where in the more expensive pistols, the takedown pin is a machine part. And also with the slide, they stamp that in. And I think it's laser etched on the rest of the Kahr line, the more expensive pistols. And this has a fixed front sight, where the more expensive pistols have a dovetail in the front also. This is sort of unique to Kahr. They have some rails that's molded into the plastic frame in the front here. And these rails on the side here are all plastic. Then you have some metal inserts that are molded in the back that guides the slide. So you've got a really long distance here. I think that's going to control the slide a little better. So a couple of negative things for me anyway is the design of this magazine here. The way it sticks out, I don't really like that. Just looks kind of tacky. If they would have made a nice flat floor plate, or maybe a little extension at the back here, so it just looks a little more finished. And the length to the trigger is a little bit too short for me. If I put my finger in the trigger ends up on the second pad, second digit right there, or more close to the joint. Or for best trigger control, you're really going to want to use the first pad on your index finger. So I end up pulling my finger out of the trigger guard quite a bit. It ends up at a little bit of an angle, and trigger ends up on the bottom of the finger. Okay, I thought I'd demonstrate the trigger pull on the Kahr. It's a somewhat heavy, long double action trigger. Kahr says it's 7.5 to 9 pounds. Nothing in the magazine. Chamber's empty. There's a little bit of slop in the trigger. And they say it's about a 3/8 inch travel. Then for reset, you have to fully release the trigger. It doesn't reset at partial. Okay, there's one thing you should be aware of if you plan to purchase a Kahr CW9. I have some snap caps loaded into the magazine right now. The 9mm rounds are tapered. So, and Kahr has a pretty steep angle here on their magazine. So that when you have it loaded up, that first round doesn't spring back. So what will happen is, if you ride the slide, it'll hit the feed ramp and it won't go into battery. So what Kahr recommends doing is loading that first round from a lockback slide. Then you should have no trouble. Now, I've loaded the gun without having the slide locked back, and I haven't had any trouble with that. But some other people have posted that they have had that trouble. I think if you slingshot it real quick like that, it's going to load no problem.